Early Language and Literacy by Michelle Tolzman. Early language and literacy development begins at birth through everyday interactions. The first 3 years of exploring and playing with books, listening to and having conversations, singing nursery rhymes, listening to stories, recognizing words, and scribbling are truly the building blocks for language and literacy development. Early language development. Phonological development. Newborns are able to hear and differentiate speech sounds. During an infant's first year, they tune into the contrasts of their language and tune out the noises not related to their native language. Between 6 and 10 months, infants hit a milestone of producing consonant and vowel combinations, which is quickly followed by repeated babbling. At 5 months, an infant may understand their first word. Between 10 and 15 months, an infant says their first word. About 18 months, the toddler hits the 50-word milestone. Around 20 or 21 months, they can say 100 words. Following 21 months, vocabulary development grows rapidly, and this is the lexical development, which is the word part of their development. And then early language development continued. Morphosyntactic development, which is grammar. At around 24 months, toddlers begin to put 2 or more words together, forming short sentences. These sentences often lack grammatical function words such as a and the and word endings. At about 27 to 30 months, toddlers begin using ing endings and words such as in and on, and they also add plural endings to their words. 31 to 43 months, toddlers start to use irregular past tense and the apostrophe S possessives. At 35 to 40 months, toddlers use articles such as a and the, regular past tense, and third person regular past tense. Development of complex sentences begins before age 2 and is complete prior to age 4. Oral language is the, quote, great predictor. During their early years, children who are exposed to and participate in a lot of dialogue with parents, siblings, and daycare professionals are more apt to develop an extensive vocabulary, which leads the way for learning beginning reading concepts. On the flip side, children who do not receive this type of exposure often have small vocabularies, use fewer complex sentences, and less elaboration. Research confirms deficits in oral language can limit their ability to learn to read and write. Research has proven that early intensive intervention may enhance literacy for these individuals who lack the big vocabularies and the conversations at home and exposure to books. Early years are the learning years. The majority of children complete their basic language acquisition process by the age of 5 without any direct instruction. With that being said, there is a word gap between literacy-rich homes where parents read to their children daily and have conversations with them, and homes where children are not exposed to many books, and conversations are included in that as well. Not all children enter school equally prepared to learn to read. Those from the nation's most economically disadvantaged families are the least likely to be well prepared to succeed. And that opens the gaps between rich and poor and black and white. And those gaps are never spanned during the child's schooling. Early literacy. Early literacy does not mean teaching toddlers to read, but rather a natural unfolding of skills through interactions with adults, books, and literacy-rich experiences. Language, reading, and writing skills develop at the same time and are linked. Early literacy development is a continuous developmental process. Early literacy skills are essential to literacy development and should be the focus of early language and literacy programs. These skills are the set of skills that have been found to be essential for later reading development. And they are alphabet knowledge, so kids are able to identify names and sounds of printed letters. Phonological awareness, ability to detect, manipulate, and analyze spoken language. Rapid automatic naming of letters or digits. Rapid automatic naming of objects or colors. Writing letters of their name or the alphabet. Phonological memory, and that's the ability to remember spoken information for a short period of time. Concepts about print and print conventions, and that's like environmental print, book print, knowing if you're looking at the front or back of the book. Oral language production and comprehension, visual processing, and there are strong correlations. Strong correlations have been found between these skills and later reading achievement. Parents are a child's first teachers. Parents can engage in the following literacy activities to provide advantages for their children. Provide children with access to many books, starting at a very young age. Read to your child, offer writing tools, teach them to write letters in their name, teach the alphabet and letter sounds, engage in conversations with the child, model reading in the home, visit the library and bookstores, and access games which encourage learning the alphabet or reading. Early literacy in the 1960s and the 1970s. In the 1960s and the 1970s, there was a shift that placed greater emphasis on early education and starting kids reading earlier, because in the 1920s and around in the 1930s, for many years, the age 6.5 was determined to be the age of reading readiness, and at one time it was as late as 10 years old. But research showed younger children could be taught to read successfully. In 1967, Brensky published a reading readiness study which involved 4,000 children in the Denver public school system, and this involved an experimental program where some children were introduced to reading instruction in kindergarten rather than first grade, and these children were deemed to be better readers at the end of first grade than the children who were introduced to reading materials in the first grade. And there were many other studies during this time period which introduced reading instruction to younger children that showed positive results. Maximizing early learning development results in a more promising future for a child to be a successful reader and writer.